probably even that woman in the higher cadre. The journey of a woman is a very challenging one. I was born, I found myself as a firstborn amongst boys. I was taken to a school, a boarding school when I was very young. I was not visited. I had to struggle to fit. And so I grew up with very many different personalities that I can use at any opportune time. So the journey has not been easy. And before I come to my own journey, I want to remember the women in the community who have to weather the storms of life, the storms of families, the storms of living amongst people that you don't know, that you meet in your adulthood, and you have to fit in their religion, in their culture, in the kind of food, in the way of life, and everything. It's very tough, but women have managed to weather this because we have structures in the community of older women probably who hold your hand and direct your path. At this moment, we are COVIDing, and it's not been an easy one as well. Women's economy, if you top it up with what we have gone through in the representation in policy-making tables, where our issues are discussed, where our budgets are discussed, and we are not fully there, our voices are not heard, it's still very tough. Women have lost jobs, women have died during childbirth because they were not able to reach the hospitals, or women have died of hunger. Some have been violated, and we also have the teenagers who are trying to struggle and negotiate the path of adolescence that is very tough. So COVID has not even made it easy for women, but we have weathered the storms, and here we are. During conflict, I can hear the war cries. I can hear men already peddling conflict. Before, as a woman, before we get over the post-election violence and its effects, where we lost our children, where we shed blood, where we were going on living in camps without probably our ARVs, without our health care kits, without our sanitation and even security, then COVID settles in. Before we recover as women, then we already hear the political mood. What comes to my mind as a woman out there is, again, I'm going to run, I'm going to miss my home, I'm going to lose my children, and during these battles, who do I save? My disabled child who's not able to move, my old mother-in-law or my mother, my husband probably, or myself. Who do I run with? So during conflict, we go through a lot of storms because we bear the brunt. When the family is lacking in water, then we have to wake up very early in the morning to ensure that we get water, to feed the family, to go into the farm, to smile at the public, to endure the jeers from men, and also to struggle in spaces, including the church spaces. And now, in politics. When I was growing up, I didn't know what politics is all about. I remember seeing President Moi. We were singing by the roadside, and he would issue goodies. That is as far after being nominated, the men are waiting. They call you Kionjo. They call you names. They call you ya kuongeza, like you have no voice. They also, the men, I'm not talking about all men, I'm talking about some men, they also think that probably how you got in here, which is quite derogatory, is through your bottom's power, not remembering that women also have their brains. Women also agitate to fit in spaces just the way we have sat. So for you to pass policies, to pass bills, to agitate for bills and budgets that are women-friendly, that ensure that we are safe, we are healthy, and we are empowered is also not easy. Even in the community, for you to save space women that are illiterate, women that are women are rich, and ensure that we all understand the same language isn't easy. So the journey has not been easy, but I have learned to work with fellow women. We hold our hands, we embrace each other, we urge each other, and I also read a lot about some of the women that weathered the storms before us, the ones who created paths, and also by acknowledging the strength of each and every one of us. So far, that's where I am.
Thank you, Caroline. What I'm trying to take home here from the panel discussion, issues of interest, is unequal representation of women in the political space. This starts from the county up to the national government, and you know we have now the issue of a third gender rule. You heard the other day that the National Assembly was to be, they were advised to go home because they cannot bring us in our midst, bring us in their midst. Another issue of interest is mentoring, having mentors. Senator said that someone hold your hand. A woman needs someone to hold their hand. And if it's not your father, it might be your uncle, your brother, your husband, and if your fellow women also hold your hand and teaching you the ropes. So we need to mentor our girls and mentor our women and expose girls to opportunities so that we can weather the storm. Learning from the historical great women of our times. And this is to let women and girls take their place in leadership. By the way, in 2016, we had a professional forum before the election of 2017 here in Kisumu. And the Right Honorable, former Prime Minister, I had an opportunity to be in that forum, and I asked him, what is the place of women in Nyanza politics? Before that, you would see one lone woman out of 15 seats is one being elected. For the first time this time, apart from the county women rep position, which is by default women compete among themselves, in Southern Nyanza, from Oma Bay, there were more women being elected in the legislature through vote. Are you getting that? We have more representation than any other parliament at the MCA level, county assembly, but we are still saying it's not enough. So what is the problem? Are women not electing themselves? In my son's class, there are 76, and there are 48 girls and 25 boys, about 25 or 27. When it came to class representation, the ladies elected themselves as president of class and vice president. The class had full ladies representation. They were more assertive and say affirmative action for ourselves. So why can't we? There are more women voters than men, isn't it? Women vote more. Why can't women vote? Women. What is missing in us as women? As a woman, another key point I capture was, as a woman, you carry the dreams. As a woman leader, you carry the dreams, Honorable Rose, and Dr. Karugu, and all women in Kenya, leaders. You carry the aspiration and dreams of women to come. Meaning that if you say you are quitting, why can't you? Women don't quit, by the way, let me tell you. They'll even pack their things and go to their home, and tomorrow remember, oh, my home. She'll wake, my husband is not feeling well. She'll go back home with her bags. So we don't quit. So why should we quit in politics? Are you getting that? Because if you quit in politics, you are judged more because you are saying you are letting go a whole generational opportunity. Another speaker talked about the conflicts which hinder women from progression. Conflicts in home. And these are in terms of decision making, resource allocation, who owns what? Who owns what property? Who owns what money? Who is to speak? Who is to pay fee? This conflict draw women back because, and it even deny girls. You know, when there's a boy and a girl in the home, the boy will go to school, the girl will say, you wait. If she's tired, somebody will come and pay dowry. This is still happening. If it's not happening in the city, it's happening in our rural villages. Issues of resources such as water, healthcare have become a challenge to women. And the last one, which is usually annoying, this I'm saying, it's my opinion, it's annoying to me. When we talk about sexual intonation, huyu hakupata bure, alipata na, what Caroline said, she has a sponsor. Imagine. I have my classmate here, he knows we got it through sweat. The scribe, Emeka Yaka, is my classmate, and we got it through sweat. We are going through the undergraduate education with him, and it was not easy, and Caroline will tell you, it's sweat and tears. Even Rose here, sweat and tears. Even engineer, you know, education is sweat and tears for all gender and all that. We are going to question session. Question or comment from the audience? Please assist us. Someone take the mic.
Thank you. Edgar, I represent Kenya Medical Training College, Kondele campus. So this question goes to the speaker of the of the county of Kisumu. Okay, apart from social issues that the county is trying to address in order to empower women, I would like you at least to tell us the health issues that the county is trying in order to empower women, and are you maybe sure that it's really reaching to these girls? Like, for example, ukiangalia Manyata kule chini, will you kindly tell us, will you assure us that these things reach those people at the outcast, especially girl child? Then, another one goes to the Deputy Governor, Dr. Karugu. In 2012, I remember very well, there was like a the court, like it said that the parliament should make sure it sorts out the issue of a third gender rule in 2012. Now, when Maraga said that the president shall, not may, shall dissolve the parliament if the gender issue is not solved, there was a section of some women, not men, of a certain party. I won't mention the party. Not men, it's women from a certain party. They came up and they told Maraga that it's like he wasn't doing the right thing. So it's like a woman is fighting a woman. It's just the same way. I remember while I was young, ladies, they used to say, if a man has got a dimple, then the man is being called a princess. Then if a lady is heavily built, like akona muscles, the girls call that boy a tomboy. So, for example, for the feminists, madam, what can you do at least to remove this mindset in order for us to bring this thing of gender rule into equilibrium and to make Kenya a better place and a place to be? Thank you so much.
Thank you. We take questions. In front. Let's hear from this side of the room, then we go to the other side. Yeah?
Okay, I also want to appreciate the panelists. Dr. Karugu, thank you very much. I am in the city board, and I remember when we were doing the groundbreaking for the renovation of this center, you were there. And today, you are also with us as we launch this center. Thank you very much. Power to a woman.
Welcome.
I want to appreciate all the panelists, and my question goes to Senator Nyong'o about the two-third gender principle. There has been some talks that some of the reasons why the gender bill has never been successfully tabled is because of the women themselves who are inside there not supporting, not all, some women, there's that allegation that some women have not supported that bill. Now you are here with us, would like to know, is it true or not? Otherwise, thank you very much.
Give the gentleman at the back.
My name is Clement, and I just want to know if at all I'm wrong, then you correct me. I hold the opinion that affirmative action where people, and I'll give a specific case in the Senate, we have 16 women nominated. When it comes to very crucial issue of resource allocation, they don't vote. So we question why. Why are they there? I hold the opinion that affirmative action can be counterproductive. That we need to have women elected, and they serve a better purpose if they are elected, as opposed to being, nominated, being given those positions. I want to be told if at all I'm politically incorrect. And then number two, again, the two-thirds gender principle. I hold the opinion that we must not have a resolution that supports the expansion of parliament because of financial implications. Individuals who earn super salaries, 1.2 million a month, and then you want to expand that house still exponentially, putting in 100 more members or so. I hold the opinion that we would rather, if at all that must happen, if the principle has to be realized through expanding the house, then we would rather remove the principle from the Bill of Rights. I want to be told if at all I'm politically incorrect. Thank you.
Thank you. One more hand this time, then we move to the other side of the room. At the back, at the back. He has been persistent.
Thank you. I think I'm the only person who came here with my daughters, because I really mean that I would like my daughters to be mentored. My name is Adulija Owenyami. I would like to raise two comments, and these comments go to the Speaker and Honorable Rose Nyamunga. I want to talk about non-communicable diseases. The county has never passed a bill on non-communicable diseases. And I would like Honorable Rose Nyamunga also to take this one up. I've been an advocate about sickle cell disease that has been really affecting our people. And we try to approach, because sickle cell disease has been really, really devastating, especially to the women caregivers. Women caregivers really suffer a lot. Sickle cell disease, you walk, but nobody can detect that you are suffering. We have been undergoing a lot of things in terms of financial constraint and even social constraint on sickle cell disease. These non-communicable diseases, the county has to pass a budget and really look into this. People are suffering in the Lake region, from Kisii to Busia, and people talk about building economic blocks. but nothing is really, really happening. You go to an hospital, you have to bear the cost of this disease. Really, let's try to pass a bill like the one they did in Uganda, so that at least sickle cell disease can be taken care of. Tax heavens should be given to parents who have sickle cell disease or who are taking care of children with sickle cell disease. Currently, somebody who is like disabled enjoy this tax. Drugs for people, HIV, are being given out free. But what are we doing about sickle cell disease? We are doing nothing about it. And we know it exists, and it's really, really very painful. This is something that I would like us to move even to the parliament so that sickle cell disease sufferers are taken care of. That's one thing that I would like to put forward.
Thank you. If I'm not right, Madam Jan Bogo, please. She want to tell us something or a comment? Yes.
I wanted to say something about participation of women in public life and politics specifically. And I'm just trying to share with you what my view is, and in a very, very short way. First of all, I want you, as women leaders who are coming up in politics, deputy governor, members of the Senate, and so on, and speaker, please let the women, and this is a general call, all of us, we have to belong to political parties to begin with. Because we experienced a very shameful situation in 1992 when we put up a lot of women, we trained them for 5 years. At the time of nomination, my dear ladies, we lost almost all of them. Party nominations. That is where we lost the whole team, almost the whole team. Because they joined parties which didn't have anything to do with them. You got to belong there, participate in the elections, compete for significant positions in the party, so that when your colleague comes, you are one of the people who are clearing the candidates to run in your party. Come on, yeah? Then you will see a change. The whole thing lies with political parties. Get engaged, pay the dues, and be in the central council, the governing council, the election board of that particular party, and we'll be able to put in more women in the coming season. All right?
Thank you. You move to the other side of the room. Yes, there, just immediately after you. The gentleman, yeah, just immediately next to you.
Thank you very much, panelists. This issue was discussed here yesterday and then today. The question of gender parity. I was impressed by a statement by one of the panelists yesterday who said, and today I've heard the same thing, that today women are very brave and they do not care what you want to call them and how you want to insult them during the elections. And indeed I believe, as I perceive and see, that that is where we are today. Why do we want to have a lot of questions whether the parliament is the one which has failed and so forth? And yet statistically, the women, if you look at the women who are voters, they are far, far more than the men. With that bravery they are talking about today, why don't they just get the bull by the horn, stand, and work for it through the ballot without fear? Because if you can do that, I am sure you are going to sort it out very easy. Men are very poor voters. The women are very faithful. Why are you not faithful to yourselves? This is the question. That is one. Two, the gender issues being talked about in terms of one dimension. But yet we know that there is the elective and the appointive aspect. The elective one seems to be getting too much attention and so much noise. What is the system, the society, the government, and everyone doing about the appointed aspect? Is there some policy being shaped to take care of this? Because in the institutions, public or private, people have already been appointed and they have taken positions for one reason or another, and one gender is too high, too much above, particularly the men gender, are too high. How are you going to undo this? And how are you going to solve it? It's not a very easy matter. Why one side only? Are you also thinking of the appointive, and is there a policy on how to solve it? Thank you.
Thank you. In the front, then we move like that at the front.
Thank you, Dr. Skora. I want to confirm that in case there is doubt that you went to school, you did not go to school, then I'm your witness here. You are my classmate at the university. A general question, but I would want to hear the feelings of the senator and the deputy governor particularly about this. Senator Nyamunga, I was seated where you were seated in the morning with Madam Child here. And the same issues came up. There is a proposal in the BBI over this gender thing that we could go to the elections and then have party lists in Parliament and the Senate so that if there are any gaps, we fill them from the proposed party lists. What are your reflections on it? I will also want to hear the reflections of the good deputy governor. And when you go to the people of Nyeri, tell them that we love them.
Thank you. Thank you. At the back.
Kwa majina naitwa mhubiri Philip Gishuki. Mimi ni mhubiri wa Presbyterian Church. Jambo ambalo liko mbele yetu wakati huu, especially kwa wasichana na vijana, ni juu ya shule. Nimetoka field nikizunguka. Kuna shida ambayo iko mbele. Watoto wengi especially wasichana, kuna wasichana karibu 3 walikuwa wananiambia ni wanunulie uniform. Wengine wameolewa. Hiyo miezi ambayo imekuwa ni ya corona, kuna mambo mengi yamefanyika sana ambayo ni fiche, ambayo haijulikani kwa watoto wetu ambao wanarudi shule. Ningetaka kuambia wenye wako especially viongozi wetu, before Monday mzungumzie juu watoto wakirudi shule wasilipishwe chochote. Uniform warudi hata kama hawana uniform, kwa sababu wengi sasa wanahitaji hizo uniform. Na wazazi wengi hawana fedha. Wazazi wengi wako chini. Kwa sababu Jumatatu inafika na kuna watoto ambao wanasema hawana uniform. Wengine wameolewa, wengine sijui kuna shida gani. Ni vizuri labda viongozi ongee hili jambo, na Jumatatu inapofika wasichana wote, hata wale wameolewa, wengine hata nimeona wana mimba, waambiwe warudi shule Januari. Asanteni.
Thank you. We are now taking, I cannot say, just to be fair, there are only 2 hands now. I respect the 2 hands. Our audience has special today in our discussion. There's a lady at the far right. Then there's a gentleman in the middle here. Then we finish the question session.
Thank you very much. I've spoken before, but I will speak again now. I wrote an article that I published in 2010 in which I made the argument that the state, this is apropos this 2/3 gender rule or any affirmative action, that the state as presently constituted in Africa, many African countries, does not have the capacity to provide equality for women and men. Now that's my hypothesis. because the state is a hybrid from an earlier colonial form, and we have kind of taken over the structure of that state, which was very anti-feminist, and we've incorporated it in our system without much change. So that's one thing that I wanted you to consider. The other question, I just have another suggestion that I think would be bearing considering. Here we are as African feminists, African people. We have a culture, we have a ground on which we stand, our identity. Of course, now from the discussion we've had, there are shifting issues that are causing people to have identity change and so on. But we're still Africans. We're not going to be Wazungus tomorrow. So what ground are we standing on as Africans who want to share, enjoy our culture, but also deal with this equality issue? The ground we stand on is something we may want to consider, to discuss, to see how we marry our own perspectives as people of this continent and the equality discussions, taking also the strong points of women. You know, this culture, I said it the other day, this culture has strong points for women. A man without a wife doesn't mean much. In families, a man does not build a home before he is married. So that there are certain of those cultural positions that women can take and make strategic use of, rather than just letting them go and then starting from scratch. So I just wanted us to consider those 2 points. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. The last question or commentary?
To the panelists, mine is a word of encouragement regarding the teaching of the Quran to the women. You know, we were created when Adam slept and God removed the ribs and then created a woman. So you took the 75% of power from men to you. And you are the gold mine of the nation, if you don't know. I would like to encourage you on one thing. If you can unite, you have the number. What is wrong to take over even the presidency itself? It is up to you. You are the enemy of women themselves. So take that enmity out of you around, and then there is where you will see where you would be. When a child is born and the child starts talking, the first word a child talk about is what? Mama, mama, mama. So what are you waiting for? Thank you.
Thank you so much for the audience, for the fruitful engagements. I'd like to go back to my panelists, to the far right. Honorable Elisha, your take on the sentiments from the audience, please.
Thank you so much. I think I'd got 2 questions. But before I answer that, let me say that based on the opinion by many, if there was a mess, I would have put a question, but based on what many or more of the scholars have said, is that it is real and it's true that there are more women than men during the voting periods. That's if I look at the elective part of gender issues. So I want to agree with them that women in most cases becomes enemies of their own. It may be the bitter truth, because with the number and even in the voting stations, the turnout is normally that there are more women compared to men. Even the politicians themselves will tell you that they will strive to associate themselves much with women, followed by the wazees and then the youths. Before I became the speaker, I was the MCA Kisumu North Ward, and I was elected. And that was the trick, that associate yourself with women, then you are sure you are going to win, because once they say they are going to vote you, they will vote you. So that should be the case. Another scenario is that when you go to, I've gone to a restaurant or a bar, you will find that ladies would prefer to serve men, and they will not prefer to serve fellow ladies. What is the reason? It is because they are an enemy of their own. So it's all about attitude change. When that change, then it will go as we recommend. Finally, when we talk about gender issues or the third gender rule, it is not about women. It is about either gender. As an engineer, I believe in the power of probability. If you have a sack of maize and there is one bean inside that sack of maize, there is still probability that you can pick that bean when you are told to pick one grain at random. So it is us to take that responsibility and move forward. Now back to my questions. There was a question about non-communicable diseases bill at the national level and at the county level. I want to answer that this way. The problem is not about laws, because if there is no law at the county level, then there is a law at the national level. And with the services that are fully devolved, if there is no law, then normally the national law will take precedence. Otherwise, the counties are advised to make their own laws, because there is uniqueness in dynamics in each and every county. Now, what is the problem? The problem is implementation. How to implement these particular laws. But I don't want to say that the executive, both at the national or the counties, are not doing their work. There is the issue of constraints. And in every activity, there are only three constraints. The constraint of finance, the constraint of a time, and the constraint of so many things to be done at a go. At any time, Senator Nyong'o will tell you here that previously they were struggling about the issue of how much money goes to each county. That is a financial constraint, because there is a lot of demand at the county levels amidst the least resources available. So it's the balance of what is the priority at a time. And that brings me even to the question on the health issues. Somebody mentioned about Manyata. There would be need by the county to reach each and every person. But because of the financial constraints, it becomes difficult. And it's high time we stop thinking about the government only. Let us embrace the issues of partnership, whether it's public-private partnership or public-public partnership or private-private partnership. It is very key, and the attitude on us will help us address the issues of health effectively. Somebody once said, and I agree with him, that over 80% of the diseases that we have are as a result of hand washing, sanitation. And look at what happened when COVID came. There is tremendous reduction in communicable diseases. The non-communicable diseases, in as much as they are now coming out to be rampant, has not been given more attention. But I'm happy that there are so many attempts to come up with bills addressing the same, but the coming up with the bill is not the answer. The answer is implementing those particular bills. Finally, the question on health as Kisumu County, there is an attempt to bring in on board regulations on Kisumu County social health insurance fund. And I think that bill is before the assembly. The idea is to target the indigents. The challenge is how vulnerable is somebody? Because I believe we do not have it's called a vulnerometer, something to measure vulnerability. Everybody will pronounce themselves vulnerable at any particular point. If you are not able to pay 100 million or 10 million and you are rich, you are vulnerable. So what we are attempting to do is to base the socioeconomic data of UHC collection previously, and the data is giving clearly those who are felt to be not able to pay a single cent for their health care system. And there is a partnership between Kisumu County, NHIF, and Farm Access to assist 45,000 indigents, family, not or household, not individual. Once the households are assisted, then the members of those particular households will benefit. But regarding the gender issues, I think it is important that we change our attitude and agree that what men can do, but the women must come out strongly to support their fellow women.
Thank you so much, Honorable Elisha. Your take, Senator Ross.
Yeah, thank you for giving me this opportunity again. I think I squandered my first time, but if I can summarize in brief, that the women in parliament or the women in politics, they've really tried their best. At the Senate, what I've seen that anytime there is serious debate, I don't say that men don't debate, but men don't have, they are normally very impatient. And if you need to sit sometimes up to after 6 o'clock, you will find that the house will be left by the women only. So I have seen a lot of resilience in women, the way they are bringing issues, questions in the house, statements, motions, and even bills. So it's a very big encouragement. And that now takes me to also appreciate the women who are ahead of us. We know women that were ahead of us. I saw Mrs. Mbogo here. I have seen Mayor. I have seen Mrs. Olendi. I have seen women who have served this country in different capacities. They are still serving now. And that is why we are always complaining, and not even complaining. Really, we want our space. Women, we need our space. The time President Obama came here, one statement he made, that you cannot have a team playing, but half of the team is absent. So definitely, there's also somebody who said from the audience that without a woman anywhere, even in the home, I remember when I was young, the first thing my father would ask, Mama nitie, is Mama there? Then when Mama is there, then you enter the house. As I came from school, I asked for the first thing I asked, is Mama there? Meaning that there's a very important role that women play. Going to the questions, the 2/3 gender rule. The 2/3 gender rule was a requirement of the Constitution 2010. And it was given a lifeline of 5 years. Meaning from 2010 to 2015, it should have been, it was supposed to be progressive, because it was realized that it cannot be realized at a go. So there was a window of 5 years. So when the 5 years elapsed in 2015, the National Assembly requested the courts to give them another extra year. The year was given, and the year came and passed. But in my view, what I think that instead of going back or sitting with other stakeholders to look for way forward, they've never done that. So it has remained a bone of contention. And it is not true that it is the women that are not interested in passing this bill. That is not true. The truth is, it is a constitutional requirement. It has to be put in place. We don't want to be left at a corner with the Chief Justice making a proclamation that the president should dissolve the parliament. We should not have reached there. And definitely, looking at the situation, the economic situation in the country, it becomes very difficult for anybody to tell us that we should dissolve parliament. I don't know if people are for it or not, but yes, we could be for it, because we are the women and we are looking for it. But is the time right? That is the question that we may be asking ourselves. So it is not about the women fighting. I remember last parliament when I was the women representative, we tried. But what I saw is, why are we begging? Why are we begging for the constitution? This is a constitutional right. Why do we take these men for dinner, for dance, for tea, for them to vote? I found that was very odd. We did it, but we didn't succeed. So it is not a women fighting. We have tried our best, and it is not about trying. It is a constitutional right that if they don't want it, the best thing that should be done is to change the constitution. But before it is changed, it has to be realized. That is question one. Number two was about voting. But how come the nominated don't vote? It is so simple. The nominated members don't vote because voting is done per sub-county. If it is per sub-county, it can be per ward. It should be, it can be per county or sub-county or the ward. So if, for example, in Kisumu, there is a nominated senator, myself and Senator Outa. So if we vote two of us, it will mean that there will be a situation of unfairness, because Kisumu will have voted twice. If you look at Kakamega, there are 2 nominated and 1 elected. If they voted all of them, it will mean they will have an advantage over the others. So it is as simple as that. Anytime the substantive senator is not there, the nominated ones vote. So it is about proper and equal representation across the country. I think that is very clear. Now, expansion of parliament. Should we expand parliament, should we not? For me, I would make it very simple, that there must be commitment. There must be commitment by the political parties, because the women play a very big role when it comes to campaign, doing so much at the grassroots level. We campaign, we talk to our husbands, we talk to our children, but when it comes to food on the table, then the women are second class. So parties must be serious, and we want to see what is coming in the BBI. It was suggested that parties should do their listings, and after the listings, now we campaign for the county. Somebody mentioned that all of us should belong to parties if you want to participate in management or leadership of this country. So we must be members of any political party, so that we have party listings, and from there we make, because, for example, I was given nomination because of the seats that ODM got as senators. So ODM had about 24 senators, and every four senators you get a nomination. Every 4 senators you get a nomination. So that way we will reduce the numbers in the elective posts, and at the same time we will get equal representation. At least we will have enough women. Uganda has done it. They are almost, I think, about 42%. Rwanda has done so well, 62%. And it's about the commitment of the leadership. If there is commitment by our parties and our leaders, political leaders, this will be a thing of the past. And we'll have equal and fair representation by both male, female, and even marginalized people like the youth and people living with disability. The next question was about, I think sickle cell is already taken care of, but somebody talked of economic blocks. Economic blocks is the way forward for this country, for the county governments to work. The money that is allocated at the national government cannot be enough, whatever the situation. And I keep telling that because I'm bringing a bill, a very important bill, that gives the governors a mandate to develop the resources. For example, Kisumu, we must develop the lake, which is already ongoing. We must develop tourism at the lake, transport, fishing along the lake. We must develop our rice, because Aero rice is nowhere. We are only relying on Mwea rice. We must develop our sugarcane, and that should cut across and make the economic blocks. Then that way, and that bill will be supported, and it's already getting a lot of support, even from the governors themselves. It will give them a leeway, even to bring themselves together and look for resources beyond the government. Because government alone is like a man working and the rest of the family doing nothing. So when the man is leaving, where's money for this? Where's money for this? That is what is happening right now. And the last question is about women not electing fellow women. That one, the reasons, according to me, I think we have been socialized to believe in men. So when we go for elections, we'll be looking for men. But now we must work and sensitize our people that women can be just as good leaders as men. The another thing that is lacking on women that makes us elect fewer women is because of the economic resources, financial resources, and then the fear of violence. Those are the main reasons that if we take care of them, I think we'll be having a lot of women competing. Then another, opening schools. That one would be very difficult for me to answer because it's an issue of the Ministry of Education, and I think Kenyans have been making a lot of noise about opening schools. I am so surprised that when the minister said yes Monday, it's like a man looking for a girl But all the time the girl said no. But when now the man says yes, now she's so surprised she doesn't want to be married. This is what I'm seeing in our education sector. So we must open our schools. As for school fees, if you are in a private school, you must pay the fees. If you are in a public school, the government will take care of most of the issues. So I don't think that, to me, that's the teenage pregnancy is what we should be grappling with. It has been there, shocking figures. There is a campaign going on around the nation against teenage pregnancy and children becoming parents. You become a parent and you yourself, you are a child. I think there is nothing I have left behind. I think I've looked at most of the issues that were raised. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Nyamunga. Your take, Dr. Karugu.
All right, thank you very much. I think most of my issues are similar to the issues that were fronted to our dear senator. But I'll just give my perspective, perhaps, especially on the issue of gender parity. And, you know, we have come a long journey in this country, and we must appreciate, like I said before, those who have gone before us. The truth is, there have been some appreciable efforts on issues, gender equity and gender parity in this country. We are not where we used to be. And so, because it's easy for us to sit here and complain, but not really to appreciate the fact that there has been some steps. And one that perhaps has not surfaced in this conversation today is the fact that we have in our county assemblies been able to deal with the 2/3 gender rule, because we have a clause in the County Government Act that requires for that top-up. And that top-up is more than likely going to be, you know, gender-based, and therefore women have benefited. And so there are some gains, and so that we don't look like this is just a gloomy session where women do what they do best. They sit, they complain and cry and throw pity parties, and then they go home. So we want to appreciate some of the steps that are there, including, like I said, even us being here today, and the men, and I can see there's more men in this sitting than there are women, and the men have also been very patient. They have not talked us down, and they have also not looked us down. So I want to really appreciate, especially the men in this room, for giving us this chance and the patience to even be here discussing gender issues. Now, having said that, it's also important to note that one thing that has lacked over the years is the goodwill. Like Senator Amunga says, these issues are in the Constitution. If you look at your Constitution, Article 130, Article 132, there is a requirement for gender parity. There's a gentleman who asked me the question of appointive and elective posts, that we are concentrating on elective posts and not on appointive posts. Now, I wish to let you know that even appointive posts, according to our current Constitution, there is a requirement that whenever the president is appointing or anybody is appointing, that the 2/3 gender principle is looked into. Has that happened? No, it hasn't. Why hasn't it happened? And it's in our Constitution? Because there is no goodwill. Why? If you ask the men, women are fighting women. If you ask the women, women also say men are financing women to fight against women, which is true. The two notions are true. Because the only way to bring a woman down, as a man, if you start fighting a woman, you look very petty. But men are very smart people, and I want to appreciate the brains in this room, the male brains in this room. You guys are smart. So what you will do to camouflage, to hide in the background, is you will look for Senator Amunga, and you will tell her the nastiest things about me, and say, you know, Dr. Karugu is sleeping with your husband. And you know, those things are very dear to us as women. And immediately, you know, we start looking at me differently. So the only way to make sure that you're winning the women vote, if you're a clever man in this country, is you make sure that the women are separated. Because if we are united, we are a force to reckon with. And congratulations, because you have been able to do exactly that. However, maybe this is a time we need to say, you have succeeded. But you see, you have not succeeded because you come home to us and we are still grumbling. You have us as the girlfriends, and we are not happy with you. So to Maliza, this noise, let us come to a round table and discuss, because the truth is the goodwill is not there. Just recently, with the appointment of CS Betty Minor, the cabinet finally achieved the 2/3 gender rule. On the 8th, is it the 7th or the 8th year of President Kenyatta's regime, we were finally able to achieve that in cabinet. And why in cabinet? Because cabinet is so visible. Behind the scenes, the 2/3 gender rule has not been taken into account in appointive positions, ambassadors, PSs, everybody that is appointed. So there is no goodwill, and that is why our one and only hope lies in the Building Bridges initiative. And I want to thank the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and the President of this nation for coming together and saying, let us reason together and let us take this country forward. Let us put aside our political and our tribal imbalances and put the goodwill of Kenyans forward. Because in this BBI, we have put together as women a proposal, like I cited before, what we're calling the Common Women Agenda. And we're saying, number one, let's look at economic and social rights that are dear to women. The rights to access of water, clean water, affordable health care, social rights, social security, food. These are human rights that are very, very important to a woman. When you have a male governor, you see the male governor starts with infrastructure. The roads are done very well, the airports are refurbished. But when you have a woman governor, like we saw in Bomet and like we're seeing in the two other counties, they start with healthcare. That is dear to them. They start with water. It's dear to women because we think that these are the things that are important. So therefore, the issue of the 2/3 gender rule will be sorted by the BBI if, for instance, our Common Women Agenda is taken into account and if it has been incorporated. And I just want to run you through, so that you're just not hearing of a document that is there, of some of the things that we have cited under the Common Women Agenda. Like I said, number one, we started with the issue of economic and social rights. And then the second is the issue of representation, which is the 2/3 gender rule. And we are saying that it is important that in elective and appointive positions that we see the 2/3 gender rule fully embraced without further excuses. However, we're saying that just having this in the Constitution and making strong statements has not taken us anywhere. We are still grappling with the goodwill. So we are taking this burden back to the political parties and wanting to strengthen our political parties so that therefore we go the South African route where the political parties will be the people who then come up with a party list at any one time and determine who takes whatever political position and ensures that the issue of gender parity is taken into account. We are also recommending that the issue of women reps, because if you look at your women rep, for instance, today, your women rep sits in a house that is constituency-based. And therefore, if she has to lobby for resources, she lobbies, but the MP is not too happy with her. So they are permanently on a coalition because the MP is saying, what are you doing in my constituency? Why are you lobbying for resources and roads in my constituency? That is my responsibility. Don't touch my CDF. I am the duly elected MP. So you have somebody who represents a county in a constituency-based house. She is not going to be effective. Once again, they are going to go back and say, you see, we told you, women are not effective. They are just slay queens. There are people who got there because they are sleeping with so-and-so. There are people who got there because they are beautiful. It then goes back. And I told you, I started by saying men are very smart, because I think even having the women reps sitting in the National Assembly was a setup to show that this is not going to work. And you can hear a lot of men beginning to say that these women are not doing anything. What has your women rep done? Forget the fact that she only has 8 million to do anything, and the people complaining have 100 million to work with. They're saying this person who has 8 million, who is misplaced in a house where she sits and cannot lobby for anything because the constituencies have their owner, is now just a slay queen, is now just somebody who slept her way up. We are exactly where you wanted us to be, gentlemen. Congratulations once again. However, in BBI, we are proposing to regularize this dysfunction. Let's move these women into Senate. Let us have every county electing and not nominating a senator, female senator, and a male senator. That way, we have gotten rid of nominated senators, and everybody that sits in Senate has a vote. So the issue that has been raised by your nominated senator then ceases to arise, because these people will actually be able to vote and front the issues of your county. At the same time, this person now will properly be placed in a house where she can be able to front issues of the whole county, can be able to oversee devolution in the counties, and therefore is more effective and is more efficient. And we have come up with a formula that we shared with the BBI team, and I hope that some of these things will be looked at, because this is our one line. You know the way there was that game that they played called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? And you had just one lifeline for we as women in this country, because we have tried everything. And you can hear them saying, we tried, we asked, we prayed. They even wore headscarves. There's a day I saw the whole bunge was full of women in headscarves. What haven't they done? But there is no goodwill. And like I said, we are also not socialized to vote for women. So don't ask us, why are you not voting for women? It is because you, as our fathers, socialized us to say that you are the leaders. So we cannot unsocialize and unlearn these things in rocket speed. Or you must also give us time to also unlearn some of the things that you men have taught us, that you are the only capable leaders. And then gradually, we can move into seeing women occupy leadership positions, and finally even having a woman president in this country. The other issue that came up was the issue of schools opening. I think that's a valid point. I think it's unfair for parents to be asked to go back to school. In fact, I was just speaking to a headmaster before I came here, and they said, we can't afford all these things that Magoha is saying, that the schools must have, I don't know how many desks, we must have how many water stations, and so many more extra stuff. So it's strenuous for everybody. And I think the only way to deal with it is on Monday, let every student, whether you're pregnant or not, whether you have uniform, or you have burst out of your uniform, just go to your school on Monday. Let us then measure the crisis, and then, because for COVID-19, we have had to develop policies and programs as we understand the pandemic, and as also we understand how to counter the pandemic. So let's send our children to school. I think the pandemic is not that bad now. Somebody was making a joke and asking, are we done with Corona, or are we done with the Corona money? I do not know. I don't want to answer that. But I think our children should be able to go to school on Monday. On the last thing, and the topic for today, which is weathering the storm, I thought about it and I said, women are actually built to weather storms. It's not that when will we weather a storm, it's that